Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm back with 6 all new fall DIYs. I'll be using the xTool M1 machine to create all of today's projects. xTool did just recently send me the M1 machine, so I'm going to let you guys know in the video how I'm liking it so far. So I want to thank them for sending me the machine to try out. Now let's get right into it. First, I want to show you the machine. This is the xTool M1 that xTool was kind enough to send me, and it just looks like this here. Since I don't have a table to set it on in my craft space yet, I am just using it here on my kitchen table to create these projects, and I have it hooked up to my MacBook here. And then I also have the air purifier because I don't have a window to vent it through. So if you don't have a window, just know that that is an option to have the air purifier, and it's super easy to set up. So now let's move on to the DIYs. For DIY number 1, I'm going to be showing you how I created this Hello Pumpkin sign. And the first thing I did was download the creative space from xTool. If you are familiar with Cricut, it's kind of similar to the Cricut design space. So this is what it looks like, and I ended up just buying some Etsy projects because I am new to using the xTool and I don't really know how to create my own just yet. So I purchased this set here on Etsy. This fall bundle that I bought is from a Little Home Design Shop, and they have so many cute designs. I'm only going to be using the one here that says Hello Pumpkin, but since I inserted everything that I bought from that into my canvas here on the xTool creative space, I did have to go through and just manually delete all of the ones that I'm not going to be using. So basically all of them except the ones that say Hello Pumpkin. So here you can see me just highlighting and deleting all of the other designs. So once I have those deleted, the one that says Hello Pumpkin with like a little space around it where it's like outlined, that one I only want to have scored on the wood that I'm going to be using. So I set that to score, and then the other one that says Hello Pumpkin, I want those to be cut out on the wood. So I had that set, and here I just changed the color a little bit so that you can see it. So the one that's in green, I'm going to have all of that cut on the wood. As you can see, I'm changing that here. And then the one that's in red, I have that set to score. Then I just changed the material, which is going to be the 3mm basswood. And then since this is a wood project, I did want to do it on the triangular prisms so that it has a little bit of airflow underneath. This is what the prisms look like. It comes with the machine. And here I'm just going to be setting those right on the bottom of the machine. And I just spaced them out a couple inches in between each one. For the wood, I'm just going to be using this sheet of a basswood. This did come with the machine in the sample pack, and I'm just going to be placing it right on top of those triangular prisms and then just letting the machine score and cut out my design. Now the top of the xTool does have like a glass protective layer on top so that when you're looking into the machine, the laser is not going to damage your eyes. Since I am still a newbie with the machine and I'm still learning, today's video is basically just going to be what kind of projects you can make with the M1. But once I get the hang of it, I would love to show you guys a more in-depth tutorial on how to use the creative space. So if you're interested in seeing a video like that, please let me know in the comments down below. This is what everything looks like once it scored the Hello Pumpkin image and then did the individual pumpkin words and then the hello word cut out. I'm now going to be starting the project, and for this one I am using this unfinished wood pumpkin from Dollar Tree. For the frame of the pumpkin, I stained it with my folk art wood tint in the color walnut, and then for the inside of the pumpkin I painted it with the folk art matte acrylic paint in the color Pueblo. Then once that was drying, I moved it back over to the cutouts that I just did, and the one that I scored on, I'm just painting right over it with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory. And even though I'm painting over the entire thing, I'll still be able to see all of those score lines. Then for the wood hello word cutout, I'm using a black paint marker to just color that right in. And then I did the same thing for all of the individual letters that spell out the word pumpkin. I then used hot glue on the back side of the hello word and then just placed it right where those score lines were on the top portion of that piece. And then I did hot glue on the back side of each individual letter to spell out the word pumpkin, and then just placed those right over top of the score lines. I'm then painting the stem of the pumpkin with my folk art chalk paint in the color Java. I wanted to add a little bit of detail to the front of my pumpkin, so I'm using some of my Waverly paint in ivory on a very small paintbrush, and I'm just creating 2 lines on each side of my pumpkin. Then it was time to attach the Hello Pumpkin word cutout, and I just used some hot glue to attach it right in the center of my pumpkin. And then I'm using some of this raffia it's either from Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby. I created a really simple bow, and then I'm just cutting off the ends of the raffia to be a little bit shorter. I'm then attaching the bow with some hot glue at the base of my stem, and then I did want to add a little bit more detail to this piece, so I'm using some of these like acorn and pine cone stems, and these ones are from Hobby Lobby. I just cut 2 of them off and then just kind of like twirled them around my finger a little bit to make them look a little curly, and then I just hot glued the stem of that on the back side of each side of the stem so that I could have the acorns and the little curly cues along the front of the pumpkin. I really love how this project came together, and I'm so excited to start creating more fall DIYs because it's my absolute favorite. But the xTool so far has been really fun and easy to use. Next up is DIY number 2, and I'm going to be showing you how I created this Autumn Shows Us How Beautiful It Is to Let Things Go sign. I did purchase this design from Etsy just like I did the last design. This set that I bought came in a set of 6, and it is created from the Fab 5 design shop on Etsy, and I just wanted to get designs that were already made until I get the hang of the xTool M1. So I put all of the designs from that bundle, just uploaded them onto my creative space in xTool, and then since I'm not going to be using all of them, I just deleted the ones I'm not going to be using. And then I needed to make sure that I had everything set correctly. So everything that's outlined in red, I'm just making sure that that's set to cut because that's going to be the frame and the square wood that I need cut. And then everything in purple, I'm making sure that that's set to score for the writing. And I am using another piece of my 3mm basswood. This is not a step-by-step tutorial in the xTool creative space since I am still learning it, but you can kind of get an idea of how to use it and what the machine does and what kind of projects you can create. This is what the design looks like all scored and cut out. I think it turned out absolutely perfect. And for this project, I am going to be using one of these square just square frame piece. This one is from Michaels, and the first thing I'm doing is using my folk art wood tin in the color walnut to stain the entire inside, and then once that's stained, I'm using my Waverly chalk paint in the color ivory to paint all of the edges of this piece. I'm also painting that square cutout that I cut out on the xTool with that same ivory colored paint. I'm also going to be using this unfinished wood leaf that I did cut out on the xTool M1. I did the exact same steps as you saw me do for the other images that I cut out. This was from one of the bundle packs, and it just came as a single leaf, and I cut it out on the basswood. And here I'm painting it first with the color yellow ochre from folk art, and then around all of the edges of the leaf I used the color pueblo. Then it was time to start putting everything together. I'm using hot glue on the back side of the wood frame and then just placing that right over top of the wood with the scored words. And then I'm just using hot glue on the back side of that wood piece and placing it right in the center of my square frame. Then for the little detail, I'm adding the leaf in the top right hand corner, and I attached it with hot glue. This is what it looks like all finished. I love how this one turned out. I think it is so beautiful and it looks so high end. Now moving into DIY number 3. For this one, I'm going to be showing you how I created this mini beaded garland with this leaf tag at the end. I'm first going to be just showing you what I did to create the leaf on the last project. So what I did was use this 3mm basswood tag that xTool sent me, and I did just that leaf template and cut it out of the tag. But this is the leaf that it cut out, so I basically got like two things in one. So that leaf is the one that I used in the last project, and then in this project I'm using the tag with the cutout. So the first thing I'm doing is just staining this entire wooden tag piece with the leaf with my folk art wood tint in the color Walnut. And then I'm going to be using some of these unfinished wood beads. I'm using 10 of the smaller beads, and then I'm using 4 of the larger beads. For the 10 smaller beads, I'm painting all of them with my Waverly paint in the color Ivory. And to paint them, I just put them on one of these small wooden sticks so that they were a little bit easier to paint. Then for the 4 larger beads, I'm painting them with my folk art matte acrylic paint in the color Pueblo. And again, just place them on these small sticks so that they were easier to paint. After all the paint dried, I started stringing my beads onto a piece of jute. I started with the 2 smaller ivory beads first, and then I would do a larger like orange colored bead, and then just do 2 more of the ivory color, then another orange color, until I had all of my beads strung on. Then once I got to the end, I just used that piece of jute and strung it through the hole that was in the top of the leaf tag. And then I just tied a knot to make sure that it was secure and stayed in place. And then once I had the knot, I took the end of the jute and started stringing it back up through the beads that were closest to the end of the tag. So I did have to use a little bit of hot glue on the end of the jute just to give it more of a hard surface so that it was easier for me to put the jute through the beads. So once I had it strung through about 3 of the beads, I then cut the end of the jute off. Next, I'm going to make a tassel, and I just used my phone to wrap the jute around several times. You can use pretty much whatever, but the phone was just sitting next to me, so I decided to use that. And then once I had it wrapped around, I just took the jute off, and then I'm using a piece of jute to tie right in the center of that circle that I just made with the jute. And then I'm just going to be using my scissors to cut right in the center of that circle to create the ends of my tassel. I'm then just forming a little hole with the strands of jute like you can see here, and then I'm taking another piece of jute and tying it around a few times and making a knot just to hold that into place. I'm then cutting all of those ends of the jute strands down so that they're exactly the same length. And then I'm going to be taking the string that was on the end of my beads and I'm putting it through the hole that I had created in my little tassel. And then I'm doing the same thing I did with the leaf. I'm taking that jute string that was on the end and I'm just putting it back up through the beads on the garland. And then once I have it strung about 3 beads back up, I just cut the end of the jute off. And then this is what the mini beaded garland looks like. It is perfect for tiered trays and it was really easy to create. Now for DIY number 4, I'm going to be showing you how I created this sunflower thankful sign. I did get this image again from Etsy and I bought it from this Bridge Laser design shop. They have so many cute designs. I am going to be tweaking this one a little bit, but the main sunflower is what I used in the design. And then I did the same thing on the 3mm basswood. I won't show you guys exactly what I did because I've already showed you and it's basically the same steps. And this is the machine cutting out the image with the laser. And then for the base part, this little piece is from Michaels and I'm painting the entire piece with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory. I then wanted to add a little bit of distressing, so I'm using my folk art chalk paint in the color Java to go around all of the edges of this piece, and it just makes all of the edges pop a little bit more instead of being just that matte color. This is the base of the sunflower that I cut out on the xTool M1, and I'm painting this piece with that folk art matte acrylic paint in the color Yellow Ochre. And then for the top portion of the sunflower that I cut out with all of the little details, I'm using the folk art wood tint in Walnut to stain all of the wood. I'm then using hot glue on the back side of the sunflower with all of the cutouts, and I'm placing it right on top of the sunflower. That is my base piece. Then for the center of the flower cutout, I'm just using that same wood tint in the color walnut. I'm then using hot glue on the back side, which you can see I painted, but I just flipped it over because I wanted it stained, and then I'm attaching it right in the center of my flower. I'm then using this thankful word cutout. This I wanted to use instead of the welcome word that comes with the design that I downloaded because I just liked it a little bit better. So I did the same steps. I just used the word thankful and cut it out on my 3mm bass wood. And then here you can see I'm using a white paint marker to paint the word. I'm then gluing my sunflower right in the center of my base piece, and then I'm gluing my thankful word right in the center of my sunflower. This is the piece all finished. I think it would be perfect on a tiered tray this fall. This one did have a couple layers to it, and it was still super easy to cut out and really easy to create. So far, the xTool M1 has been very user-friendly. Next, for DIY number 5, I'm going to be showing you how I created this pumpkin patch sign. And I did purchase the little pumpkin cutouts from this Etsy shop, and they had a bunch of different ones in the bundle that I bought. It was a very inexpensive, and it was from Presets Katrina shop on Etsy once again. And I just went into the creative space on xTool. I uploaded it, but it uploaded all of the little pumpkin shapes. So I just went through like I did on the other ones, and I just deleted all of the pumpkins that I did not want to use. And then for the pumpkin that I did want to use, I just went and outlined it, and then that made 2 pumpkin cutouts. And then I just made sure that it was set to cut. And then for the word that I'm going to be doing that says pumpkin patch, I just went to where it says text and typed out the words pumpkin and patch, and then changed that font. And I believe the font is another typewriter, and that is the one that I used for this project. Then again, just made sure that I had everything set to cut and that I am using the triangular prisms with a piece of 3mm basswood. For the base piece in this project, I'm going to be using this Stay a While little mini sign. This did come from Dollar General, and I'm just going to be flipping it over and using this as the front of my sign, and I'm painting the entire front of it with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory. Then because I got a little bit of that ivory on the bottom of the stand, I'm just using my rich black chalk paint from Folk Art and just repainting it black. These are the pumpkins that I cut out with the xTool M1. I did 3 of the ones that are outlined, and then I did 3 of the ones that are just like a solid pumpkin. For all of the ones that are the solid pumpkin, I'm painting them all 3 with the Folk Art matte acrylic paint in the color Pueblo. And then for all of the ones with the little like outlines, I'm using my white paint marker. The one I'm using is from Temu, and I'm just painting all of them white. These are the letters that I cut out on the xTool M1 to spell out the words pumpkin patch. And for all of the letters, I'm using one of my black paint markers to color them all black. I'm now attaching the outlined pumpkins to the full pumpkins, and I'm just using some hot glue to do that, and I did that on all 3. Once I had all of my little pumpkins made, I'm using some hot glue once again, and I'm attaching all 3 of them on the bottom of my base of the sign. I did 2 going in opposite directions, and then I did 1 just overlapping right in the center. For the words pumpkin patch, they were a little bit small, so I ended up just using some tacky glue to attach them in the center of the front of my sign, because the tacky glue you won't really be able to see later on because it dries clear. So once I had that attached, I thought I needed to add just 1 more detail or 2 more details. So I added some Spanish moss at the very bottom of all of the pumpkins, and I just used hot glue to attach the moss. And then for the one last detail, I used some of this orange and cream color checked ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I just cut it down to size and then used some hot glue to attach it to the front of the sign, and then I attach the ends of the ribbon along the back of the sign. And this is the sign all finished. This would be another really cute project that would be perfect for tiered trays this fall. Next is the sixth and final project today. I'm going to be showing you how I made these stone coasters. I'm going to be using another one of the designs that I purchased from Etsy, and it's going to be from the same bundle pack that I showed you guys earlier on, and it's by Fab 5 Designs, again from Etsy. Just like I did with the previous designs, I inserted the images into the xTool creative space, and then the ones that I didn't want, I just went through and deleted. I'm not really sure if you can just put one image in there. I haven't figured that out yet. So then I'm just making sure that I have everything set correctly. I want this image to do the engraving, so I'm setting everything that I need to. It's going to be on a 5mm stone coaster, so I set that up. And then I just need to put on there that I'm not going to be using the triangular prisms. It's going to be a flat laser. And then again, that I'm doing engraving. This is the stone coaster that xTool sent me in the package that came with my machine. I ended up doing 2 different sayings since I had 2 coasters. And then this is what it looks like when it's all finished. I think it turned out so good. The second one did end up getting a couple little scratches on the top of the coaster, but again, I'm still learning and figuring things out, but I still think that they turned out super cute. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you will consider subscribing. Please be sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. I do want to thank xTool for sending me the M1 machine to try out and show you guys. I would love to hear in the comments down below which project from today's video was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching.